So guys, welcome to Leaves and Lungs. So today it's a peculiar topic. I'm gonna talk something about the dairy industry that is flourishing in India. The reason why I chose this topic is because it's been in the news very often about the milk production. So I thought the next time UPSC tries to test you on dairy industry, you should be knowing some facts about the dairy industries because you got a question on rice last year. So which is India is the largest producer of rice in the world. Similarly, milk is also one of the commodities where India ranks number one. So I thought there might be like some tricky questions regarding the dairy industries that could be asked in the near future or in the upcoming exams. So, and also there's been the Finance Minister of India, the Nirmala Sitharaman, has given various economic packages for the relief of the farmers, especially those who are working under the Ministry of Animal Husbandry, the farmers who have involved in dairy sector. So, like there has been like plenty of schemes has also been employed there. So that is why I have thought like I would do a simple, pretty basic videos to know the basic facts that UPSC can test you upon. Okay, so guys, let's start it. So some pretty basic facts that you should be knowing before going into the dairy industry. Because we had a question on last year, which is the largest producer of rice in the world. The answer was obviously India. And since milk is also one of the commodities where India ranks number one in terms of global production. Okay, so this is the thing. The largest producer of milk in the world is undoubtedly it is India. You should know this by heart. And like whenever you've been like question on this thing, you should be knowing this. India is the largest consumer of milk in the world also. So it approximately produces about one-fifth of the total global production of milk. That is 20% of the global share, and it is the only industries in the world which consumes about 20 millions and millions of farmers to be employed in the dairy sectors. Whereas when you compare with New Zealand or Australia, they have a sizable number of about 10,000 or 12,000. Whereas in India, the number of people involved in milk production is among in millions. And also if somebody asks you whether cooperatives or multinationals are the responsible factors for producing milk in huge number, you should be knowing that it is cooperatives. So what are cooperatives? So cooperatives is nothing but a group of small marginal farmers. They collect their milk and they gives to cooperative, which ultimately supply milk to the entire nations. So Amul is a cooperative, Avin is a cooperative. So these are some major milk producers and suppliers for each states across North and South India. So these are some basic pretty facts that you should be knowing it by heart. So having seen that India is the largest producer of milk in the world, like do you have any remote idea of where does it ranks in terms of export percentage? So how much like global share that India has in terms of exports of milk products? So the answer is just 1% and it's nowhere in the equations of the top leaders. Hence, if somebody asks you where does India ranks in terms of export percentage, you just say India is not in the race at all. Just in terms of global production, India ranks, but in terms of export percentage, India is nowhere seen in the list. So this is the tentative list that has been given in the last year for 2018 to 2019. So the country with a huge amount of export percentages, European 28 Union. It's a collaboration of 28 nations across the Europe. So they form a collaboration and they like ultimately like share 27% of the global percentage. The single most nation that is responsible for a huge amount of exports to the world is New Zealand. They have just 12,000 or 7,000 farmers who can almost produce 30 million tons of milk. Just imagine. So such that they're flourishing their dairy industries at a vast scale. The next is the leaders are USA, and even the tiny nation Belarus is greater than India. You should know this. So if you're being tested in like list the countries with the maximum amount of export percentage, and when you find Belarus, by terms of elimination, you can't eliminate Belarus because Belarus has a higher percentage of export in milk category when compared to India. So just remember, like Argentina is there, Australia is there, Uruguay, which is a South American nation, is also there. So this is the most critical part, Belarus, because you would like if you want to make a wild guess, you will never even think of the Belarus as a nation first. But in terms competing with India, like you could like never, if you haven't tried, then you can like never surely eliminate that option. So that is why I'm telling you, just focus on this. So the next question is how to improve the export percentage and how to improve the milk quality and quantity. The obvious thing is you have to go with the cows. You have to increase the productivity of the cows that gives the milk. So it's a roughly estimate that I've put up here. So the indigenous cows that has been like Gir, Sahiwal, Ongol, so all those kinds of breeds are like they give only 37% of the total production in the milk, whereas when you compare with the exotic or crossbreds like Jersey, so they give a milk percentage of about 67%. So also in this thing you should be knowing that exotic breed is giving more milk than indigenous breed. Though the number of indigenous breed might be higher, the production in terms of the value, exotic breeds trumps indigenous breeds by huge margin. For a rough estimate I've given here, indigenous cow can give about just 2.5 liters a day, whereas exotic cows like Jersey can give 6 to 7.5 liters per day. So one exotic cow is equal to 3 or 4 indigenous cow. Okay, so even if the number of the indigenous cows are higher, the production remains the same when it compares to the exotic or crossbreed. So obvious reason there is like plenty of schemes that have been running up by the current government to increase the productivity of the indigenous cattle. So there is like Gokul mission is also going on and some plenty of mission. You should go through it and you should have to have a notes of it. What are the schemes and what has been like happening in the country. So this is how you can basically increase the production. So can you imagine how Indian paneer soda has been replaced with Pepsi or Coke? Similarly, the same scenario would have happened if India has joined RCEP. So what is this RCEP? So RCEP is nothing but it's a huge trading bloc that comprises of the nations that boundaries Indian Ocean as well as Pacific Ocean. Okay, it's not just the Indian Ocean but the Pacific Ocean also. So the countries that comes under RCEP are enormous. So the countries such as USA, Australia, New Zealand, which are the league leaders in milk producing exports. So if they would have like if India would have joined RCEP, then the products from these nations would have flooded the Indian market, and ultimately Pepsi and Coca-Cola, the same scenario would have been happened for milk also. So which is why it is very wise for the Indian government for not joining RCEP. If joined, then there would have been like catastrophe for the Indian farmers who have involved in milk production. So just know the basic core concept. So what is RCEP and what was the ultimate impact if India would have joined RCEP. So I think this would have given an insight about a basic dairy industries that is existing in India. And if you get a question one or two, then it would be like sufficient enough to answer or eliminate basic options. So I think this would have helped you in some ways. So if you like the video, just give a thumbs up. If you have any query, if you want me to make more videos, just also do put up your query as comments. So guys, thanks for watching this video and have an awesome lockdown.